Hello, this video is about the Camp Chef controller and its safety feature that Camp Chef says it is there. But anyway, I've heard people talk about it. I've seen lots of not lots, but a few instances where some people have had some issues, and I'm not blaming any of them on the controller by any means, because issues with the pellet grill could be caused from many different factors. Not cleaning the grill, poor pellets, pellet dust. There's a whole lot of different factors. But it has been a conversation that has been taking place on some various different groups. And I wanted to confirm and find out for myself and share this information with others as to really what the controller is doing and what it's not doing. And if any of this information is incorrect, feel free to comment. Let me know, because I'm a scientific kind of guy. I always have been. I go by what I see and factual proof. And so anyway, this video is going to be testing the flame out function in the Camp Chef controller. Now, the one thing that I am not sure of, and I would have to get some confirmation from Camp Chef on that, but they said this is in all their controllers. Now, on the STX controller and above, it has a digital readout, and it comes up and says flame whenever it goes into shutdown. On the SE controller, I'm not 100% sure if that function is still in there. According to Camp Chef, the actual inner workings of the controllers are the same, with the exception of the food probe and the automatic shutdown. So it may be built in there as well. I can't really verify that. I don't have that controller hooked up. But anyway, I proceeded to do this test. And the way I did it was I just put a few pellets in the auger tube. I didn't have very many in the hopper, and I just let them run out until it was up to temperature. I had it set for 250 degrees, and I waited for it to run out and basically the temperature to start falling. Once the temperature got about 130, 131, something like that, I had already opened up the ash dump, and I had dumped out what was left in there. I put a small handful of pellets in there, got them right up against the igniter so that they could ignite if the controller tells it to. I wished I had a clamp on amp meter. It'd make it a little bit easier, because you could watch the amperage and it tell exactly when it comes on. But the next best thing was putting some pellets in there and waiting and watching for the hot rod to start glowing and ignite the pellets. So that's what I did. And to my surprise, it actually took a very long time. It didn't come on at 130. As a matter of fact, it took almost 10 minutes after it got to 130 before it even started coming on. Then it took about another, I believe it was another 10 minutes before the actual flame came up. I think it was 10 minutes, an additional 10 minutes. I don't remember exactly. You can kind of follow along in the video. But the bottom line is, it took a long time. And then once it hit the flame, started displaying on the LCD, on the display, it went through the normal shutdown, but it flame remained on there even after the power shut off. So it went through a normal shutdown cycle, which I believe is around 10 to 15 minutes, somewhere in that range. But whatever it is, it went through the normal shutdown cycle, but flame remained on the screen. So what does this mean? I don't know. Everybody has to draw their own conclusions about it. The thing that I worry about, and I started to do a little bit of the test, but I had to abort it. I couldn't finish it. But let's say that you're running at 250 or 300 degrees, maybe 275, and you do get a flame out. By the time, because you got to remember your lid's going to be closed. By the time the temperature, especially if you're in a warm area like here in Texas, it could take 15-20 minutes for the temperature to get down to 130 degrees. It may even take 30 minutes. And from the time it gets to 130 degrees, if it takes another 10 minutes or so before the igniter comes on, how many pellets are going to be built up in the bottom of your grill? I suspect, from just my rough calculations, at a 250 degree setting, that you're going to have probably close to a full burn pot, if not overflowing, by the time the igniter comes back on. Now, the fan's blowing, the igniter comes back on. You could have a very, very violent fire with a whole burn pot full of pellets. If you don't believe me, just get you about 2 handfuls and put in there, and take your heat shield and deflector and stuff out and sit there and watch it. It's a pretty big fire. So that's one of the concerns that some people have, and it concerns me a little bit. I mean, I don't never leave mine without some kind of monitoring thermometer, so I always keep a pretty close eye on it. But just be aware that they claim that their set point is 130 degrees. But in both of my testing, it was way down below that before it ever came on. Now, I don't know if their program is a timed cycle, so once it hits 130, it has to wait so many minutes before it comes on. I don't know how it's programmed, but I can tell you that it took almost 10 minutes after it reached 130 before it started even trying to light. So to read into that what you will, but it is what it is. And I would just recommend everybody watch their temperature. But this is what I've found out. So I wanted to know for myself, and for me, it didn't come on at 130 like they said it did. So I don't know if it's, if I've got a bad controller or if that's the way it's designed, but I could only imagine how many pellets could be building up in there if the thing is at 250 or 300 degrees and it's sitting there running for 30 or 40 minutes, maybe even longer, just pouring pellets into your burn pot, and then all of a sudden the igniter comes on. But there is the functionality is there, and I did test it, and I tested it more than one time, and both times it did come on. So the functionality is there, and hopefully it will save somebody. If you were down lower temperature, you may not build up enough pellets that it may not make a big deal. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Appreciate it. Thank you.